It's an incredible setup here, incredible matchmaking, incredible storytelling. Oh, you had to come here. All these fighters that step in here are warriors, and all have my respect, and I'm into this game, yeah, we'll be into this, yeah.
And we arrive here in the Maverick Center, here in Salt Lake City, Utah, folks. What a night is it going to be. Historic indeed for Big Man Season 56. Whoever's the king of violence right here, this is going to be a great fight. Harry on the top.
Combat fighting in its purest form, bare knuckle fighting in the city of angels.
We've got the biggest announcement in the BKFC history we're about to make, so let's make that announcement.
What's up, Knucklemania? The notorious Conor McGregor here. Ladies and gentlemen, the huge announcement that I have for you today. Conor McGregor, myself, and McGregor Sports and Entertainment is now an owner of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. Welcome to the big leagues. David Feldman, baby, we did it.
He's now an owner of BKFC with us, and we're going to take this motherfucking thing all the way to the top now.
Dare I say, it's a football Friday, live right here on the early line on SportsGrid and all across the SportsGrid network. That includes sportsgrid.com/watch, where you can find your favorite destination and consume everything all across the grid. I am Ben Stevens, and when you look at Donnie right side, maybe it's not a football Friday, maybe it's a feel-good or fresh cut Friday. Look at the fade on Mr. Right Side over there, looking spiffy to set the stage to enter into the weekend, live right here on the early line. A dramatic day of Olympic action in maybe the best Olympic basketball game these two eyes have ever seen. It was semifinal Thursday between Serbia and the United States. A full breakdown and recap of a dramatic fourth quarter comeback for the Americans to earn a spot in the gold medal game in just a little bit. We'll go all around the start of week number 1 of the NFL preseason, a doubleheader of action on a Thursday night, and a pretty full slate around MLB. All of that, DRS, over these 3 hours on a Friday, a football Friday, with 3 more preseason NFL games on this Friday evening as well.
No doubt about it. And also, you're taking a look at setting the table for this weekend's action, which is a full slate of NFL preseason games. Got a triple header tonight, got a full slate on Saturday, some action on Sunday. The Olympics are going to preclude this weekend as well. Gold medals still to be given out, and a lot of excitement to go through. And also, keep the people updated on some of those news and notes that they're going to need for this weekend as well. Looks like it's going to be a good day today on a Friday. And as always, a lot of people out there, Friday's payday today? Yeah, let's get paid. Come on.
Yeah. We'll make sure to cash some tickets for you. Not only a football weekend with 3 NFL preseason games on this Friday. That's a triple header. We've got 9 all day on a Saturday and 2 to conclude the weekend on Sunday. But it's the final weekend of action at the 2024 Olympic Games in Paris. A Saturday for a gold medal match in the Olympic men's basketball tournament that will feature the United States. If you didn't watch anything yesterday, maybe you're saying to yourself, of course, guys, the U.S. should play in the gold medal game. They were a minus 600 favorite to win gold entering semifinal Thursday, but you didn't see the game against the Serbians. An all-time comeback and maybe one of the best basketball games you will ever see. The United States down by as many as 17 points to Nikola Jokic and Serbia early in the opening half. Down by 11 at the break. Down by 13 points, DRS, entering the fourth and final quarter with the Serbians a 4.5-point live favorite. The Americans rally to keep their gold medal hopes alive, a 95-94 91 victory. Yes, Serbia does cover as a 16-point pregame favorite. Yes, a total of 188 in a hook, just barely stays under. But we will remember what we saw yesterday in Paris for one of the best United States comebacks you will ever see in Olympic men's basketball history in a game that was dominated by the chef. Finally, the Steph Curry game over in Paris prevails for the United States yesterday.
Yeah, he was fantastic, obviously. 9 of 14 from three-point range, 36 points, which was phenomenal. And they needed every one of those points just to even hang around in that first quarter. But also, you lean on your superstars like LeBron James with a triple-double, Joel Embiid cooking Nikola Jokic in that game, ended up with 19 points over 27 minutes. They needed everything. But also, don't we know this about the NBA? When people tell you, don't worry about the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, tune in when there's just a few minutes left to go. NBA players know how to close out, and boy, did they close out for Team USA yesterday. A fantastic effort in one of those games that we finally waited for, Ben, that said, you know what? Forget about these blowouts. Let me tune in when U.S. is down at some point late in the game, and they were, and boy, did they hit the gas pedal. Sensational effort, great game to watch. Team USA moves on.
And who was the skipper down the stretch? Was it Steve Kerr barking out plays for the sidelines? Or was it Carmelo Anthony sitting floor side directing the action? A huge shot in clutch time from the man known as the easy money sniper, Kevin Durant. A huge jumper with 36 ticks remaining in regulation. LeBron James, a triple-double, and Stephen Curry, the second most points ever scored by a men's American player in an Olympic basketball game, 36 points. One of those moments in sports that you just love. We've got guys out there that have won NBA championships, have been in the spotlight since they were 18 years old, that have made hundreds of millions of dollars throughout their career. But yesterday, it was the pride of representing something bigger than themselves, where they all felt the emotions of a wild and dramatic comeback that we will continue to break down in our next segment. Elsewhere yesterday in the Olympiad on the track, Cindy McLaughlin-Lathrone, man, is she dominant. She sets a new world record, the 6th time she has set a world record, winning the 400-meter hurdles for the women's side with a 50.37, a new world record. Grant Holloway runs away with the 110-meter men's hurdles for a gold medal. And another story, Noah Lyles looking for the double. That's the 100-meter and the 200-meter. Finished in third, earning a bronze medal, but it came out afterward, DRS, that Noah Lyles had tested positive for COVID on Tuesday and was not fully 100% healthy.
Yeah, would have loved to know that true information before the race started had you been betting on who was actually going to win, because he was the decided favorite, and rightfully so. That is his best event, so it is quite shocking that he came in third place, so probably something to do with maybe being a little bit under the weather, but it was excitement all the way through, and McLaughlin, I mean, the effortless, like when you watch most of these races, you see maximum effort out there. And I'm not saying she doesn't give maximum effort on a world-class, world record run, but the effortlessness where from the start you knew she was in control when she needed to hit the gas pedal on that final turn, way ahead of the pace, way ahead of the crowd there. It was so much fun to watch it, and maybe the next Olympics she wins it again, but she is by far the supreme athlete in that 400.
It's like Katie Ledecky in the pool for the 1,500-meter. You know somebody is truly dominant when the broadcast camera angle has to go as high in the rafters as is allowed for the all-22 just to show the gap from McLaughlin in front of the field. NFL preseason action, a doubleheader to fully kick off week number 1 around the National Football League last night. Maybe not the most exciting brand of football, but the New England Patriots, a 17-3 victory over the Panthers. They cover as a 6.5-point home favorite. The Giants, a 14-3 win over the Detroit Lions. They cover as a 4.5-point favorite. Two totals that were at 35.5 pregame stay well under. Not a ton of offense on a Thursday night in the National Football League.
Oh, that recency bias from the week before. Like, ooh, maybe we're going to get a new look preseason. You came crashing back down to earth with exciting second halves that included 0 points in that Lions-Giants game. And at least you got some fireworks late to get some points on the board in that Patriots-Panthers game. It is what it is. You're sort of taking a look to see how some of these teams will do as we wait for week number 2 of the preseason, which gives us a little bit better look with some starters on the field.
CeeDee Lamb still holding out from Cowboys camp, and owner Jerry Jones says there's not a ton of urgency to get a deal done.
Yeah, congratulations, Jerry Jones, for making absolutely no sense in your answer at this point. So who knows what? Again, this is the version of all in. I'm all in on my own pocketbook for Jerry Jones, apparently.
Yeah. CeeDee Lamb quote tweeted a report of Jerry Jones's quote with a lull. Things seem to be good at the start. Nick Foles, a legendary Philadelphia Eagle, a Super Bowl champion in the Super Bowl 52 MVP, will retire an Eagle at Philly's home opener week number 2 against the Falcons.
Love to say it'd be a raucous atmosphere. The boys will be back in town. Nick Foles, the only quarterback in the history of the Philadelphia Eagles to lead them to a Super Bowl championship. Well-deserved retirement after 11 seasons.
A very, very well-deserved honor. Pedro Grifol fired yesterday by the Chicago White Sox. They have named Grady Sizemore. Yeah, that Grady Sizemore that played 12 years in Major League Baseball, the interim manager on the South Side.
And look, that's a great job to take. You win 3 games the rest of the way. You are a hero on the South Side, so I'd take that job.
Can you win multiple games? Chicago has not since the end of June. Right. The NBA Christmas Day slate is out for this upcoming year. The Knicks will host the Spurs. The Mavs play host to the T-Wolves. The Celtics and the Sixers, the Lakers and the Dubs, and the Nuggets and the Suns. More on the early line Olympic action up next.
Try and set the stage for what should be a great year of NFL action.
There's a handful of teams that potentially can compete for a Super Bowl championship.
Confusion and uncertainty this year more than some in the past.
This team looks like it's ready to make a move, but we just don't know if it's bad or good this year.
J.J. McCarthy is eventually going to take over, but it's a no-lose situation for them.
I mean, they suck. They were 7-10.
Only on SportsGrid.
Hopefully they learned their lesson. Hey, this ain't the NBA, bro. You don't have 6 fouls, and they will check you on this stuff. And Brooks has a reputation coming into this. You can tell the refs are watching them, and they were on him all the time.
This was 10, 12 years ago. Canada playing Greece with that type of lead that they had. They probably would have mentally crumbled and lost that game to Greece by 3 or 4 points in the final minute of that ball game.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Say the under has the correct juice to the 6.5 win total for the New York Giants. It's a losing season. It's a bad season in the greater New York area. Is Brian Daboll and is Joe Shane back next year?
As a Giants fan, what are you looking forward to? Absolutely nothing. You're hoping like the Yankees make a long enough run so you can forget about the Giants.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
The bottom of this field is a bunch of guys, quite frankly, that aren't on the tour, aren't on the DP tour, aren't on the Corn Ferry tour.
You know, the top 25 or so in this field, I mean, you've got Rory, you've got Lowry, you've got Scheffler, you know, all 4 Americans, Minwoo Lee and Jason Day. And you go to Mito Pereira and Joaquin Neiman out of Chile. So, you know, it really is pretty deep.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
An instant classic in Olympic basketball history. A day and night over in France that will be remembered for the United States men's basketball program for a very, very long time. Don't take it from us. I'm Ben Stevens. He's Donnie Rightside. Listen to the emotions of the players like Stephen Curry, a 4-time NBA champ, or Kevin Durant, an NBA champion as well, or like Captain America, LeBron James, one of the greatest to ever do it, saying this will be a night nobody on that basketball team will ever forget. How come? Because of the dramatic comeback in the fourth quarter to lead Team USA to a victory over Serbia and earn a spot in the gold medal game on Saturday against France. 95-91, the United States finally prevails. Down by 11 at the break, down by as many as 17 in the second quarter, down by 13 DRS, entering the fourth and final quarter that saw Nikola Jokic and Serbia as a live 4.5-point favorite. The Americans rally. Joel Embiid, a huge game. LeBron James, a triple-double. Kevin Durant coming up clutch with some supreme shot-making time. And again, and Stephen Curry, the chef cooking yesterday over in Paris. 36 points, 9 made triples. The Americans are on to a gold medal game, looking for that 5th gold medal in Olympic basketball.
That was the worry yesterday, right? Where you're heading in and saying, okay, in those international friendly showcase games, yeah, you faced a little bit of adversity, but it really didn't matter if you won or lost technically. Once you got into the group stage, you got a little bit of leeway. If you lose a game, it's not really that big of a deal. Maybe you don't win your group, but you're still going to advance. When you get to the knockout stage, you cannot afford to have an off night. And quite frankly, if Steph Curry doesn't have an all-time night, I don't think Team USA wins this game, because in that first quarter, 17, close to 20 points from himself out of the 23 points that Team USA did score. At the half, you're down. The third quarter, you're down. It looks like you're buried. But as always in the NBA, it's a game of runs. Even in international competition, which is much more physical, you see the cream rise to the top when every possession matters. How many times in that fourth quarter did you see Team USA force the turnover, get the rebound, go out and score in transition? So much fun to watch it, let it play out. And also, these are the ways that does make it more beneficial if you are on Team USA, where you had a little bit of a struggle, where you didn't just railroad every single team right up to the gold medal. Would they like that? Of course they would. But sometimes it's a little bit sweeter, those victories, when you had to dig down deep, when most people are tweeting throughout the game on social media, damn, USA is cooked. Can't believe this. LeBron can't get it done. It was all out there in the third quarter, only to have it turn around where the stars stepped up here. Joel Embiid turned into the MVP athlete that we thought he could be. LeBron James was sensational with the ball in his hands. Steph Curry, the world's best shooter of all time, showed up when they absolutely needed it. This is what we love. The spirit of competition, it was on yesterday, and Team USA prevailed.
And for these guys that have played for NBA championships, that have made hundreds of millions of dollars, that spirit of competition to rise to the occasion and match it in the fourth quarter, outscoring Serbia 32-15, that's a beautiful thing. It's why we like sport. It's why we are here on a Friday in these roles, trying to share that excitement and passion with you. Stephen Curry was speaking afterward with Mike Tirico on the NBC broadcast, and Tirico asked him, can you explain the emotions of the last 25 minutes or so? And Steph acknowledged the fact this is his first and perhaps only Olympic Games to represent the United States. So to have that moment on that night when the Americans needed it the most, it was truly something special for Steph. 36 points, the second most ever in Olympic men's basketball history, scored by a member of Team USA. Only 1 point shy of Carmelo Anthony's record of 37 points now over a decade ago, back in 2012 in London. And Melo was courtside coaching Steph on and the rest of the United States in those final few moments. LeBron James putting his country on his back once again, a triple-double. And Joel Embiid has been a huge focus, DRS, throughout this Olympic run, especially in France, where he earned French citizenship and has heard it from the host nation crowd. 19 points yesterday, many clutch shots down the stretch in a battle of the bigs against Nikola Jokic, who finished with 17 points, 11 dimes, and 5 boards for Team Serbia. But the Americans prevail, and a hope and a hunt for a 5th consecutive gold medal still lives.
Yeah, it looks like it's on the horizon now, which, again, you found that game where it's like, okay, we were down early. We know we can dig out of it. So even if you do get down in the gold medal final game, you can still rise to the occasion. But it is fun. Like, the Olympics are usually about, team camaraderie and an eclectic fan base, to say the least, inside the arena.
Yeah.
There's only one guy getting booed this entire Olympics, and it's Joel Embiid, and he's feeding into it. Even watching after the game as he's dancing and taunting the crowd. So then you say, okay, he was supposed to be on Team France, not on Team France. Of course, they're going to be upset, and he's playing well. And then who are they going to meet in the gold medal game? It's going to be France. Absolutely sensational. You can't write a better script for a final, knowing that that crazy place is going to be on fire, because the hometown team certainly is in it, but also you have the villain of Joel Embiid on the opposite side. Must-watch TV. It's going to be great this weekend.
And just a couple of further points about what Steph Curry was able to produce yesterday. 11 points in the opener against Serbia in Olympic basketball competition. That was his previous high. He only had 3 points against South Sudan, 8 points in the group play finale against Puerto Rico, just 7 against the Brazilians, and an overwhelming 35-point win for the United States. Everybody was predicting a Steph Curry breakout game. We got it yesterday in the semifinal comeback victory over Serbia. And Kevin Durant, the Olympic leading scorer, either in men's or women's basketball for the United States, maybe one of his clutchest shots ever, representing Team USA. 36 seconds remaining, a step-back crossover dagger that helped put the United States up by 4, making it a 2-possession game. KD will look for his 4th gold medal, the most ever for the United States in men's basketball. Team USA looks for a 5th consecutive gold on Saturday against the host nation in France. How did the French arrive at the gold medal match? A 73-69 victory over Germany, winning outright as a 5-point underdog. That's a college basketball score, DRS. A total of 156 stays well under.
Yeah, how about that? Again, home court advantage, back-to-back upsets for France. The home crowd is going to be there in full support for France on Saturday, making it just a little bit harder for Team USA to win. It's going to be a great finish and a great finale. Couldn't have picked 2 better teams to line up there with the home court advantage and Team USA's dominance.
Our Olympic assessment continues up next.
Try and set the stage for what should be a great year of NFL action.
There's a handful of teams that potentially can compete for a Super Bowl championship.
Confusion and uncertainty this year more than some in the past.
This team looks like it's ready to make a move, but we just don't know if it's bad or good this year.
J.J. McCarthy is eventually going to take over, but it's a no-lose situation for them.
I mean, they suck. They were 7-10.
Only on SportsGrid.
Hopefully they learned their lesson. Hey, this ain't the NBA, bro. You don't have 6 fouls, and they will check you on this stuff. And Brooks has a reputation coming into this. You can tell the refs are watching them, and they were on him all the time.
This was 10, 12 years ago. Canada playing Greece with that type of lead that they had. They probably would have mentally crumbled and lost that game to Greece by 3 or 4 points in the final minute of that ball game.
Sports Rage Late Night. Only on SportsGrid.
Say the under has the correct juice to the 6.5 win total for the New York Giants. It's a losing season. It's a bad season in the greater New York area. Is Brian Daboll and is Joe Shane back next year?
As a Giants fan, what are you looking forward to? Absolutely nothing. You're hoping like the Yankees make a long enough run so you can forget about the Giants.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
The bottom of this field is a bunch of guys, quite frankly, that aren't on the tour, aren't on the DP tour, aren't on the Corn Ferry tour.
You know, the top 25 or so in this field, I mean, you've got Rourke, you've got Lowry, you've got Scheffler, you know, all 4 Americans, Minwoo Lee and Jason Day. And you go to Mito Pereira and Joaquin Neiman out of Chile. So, you know, it really is pretty deep.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
The gold medal game in Olympic men's basketball is set. It will be the host nation, France, taking on the United States. Team USA, a 16-point favorite for Saturday's gold medal match, a little bit after 3 p.m. Eastern time, in its chase for its 5th consecutive gold at the Olympic Games. But how did France ride the host nation bump to a gold medal game? A 5-point outright upset over Team Germany, 73-69. Victor Wembanyama was good, 11 points, 7 boards, and 3 blocks. But how about Gershon Yabusele is having himself an Olympiad to remember. A team-high 17 points, and Isaiah Cordinier, 16 points as well. I'm trying to do my best French accent here on the show on the early line. Germany DRS entering the game, not just a 5-point favorite against the French, but a minus 160 favorite to win the silver medal. The crowd was electric in Paris, and France rides all of that energy and momentum to a gold medal game against the U.S.
Yeah, you would have probably got a pretty good punch regardless of who actually showed up in the gold medal game against Team USA. But the fact that it is the France team, which means the French are going to have that crowd packed in there. They're going to be chanting as if it's a soccer game, as if it's a major tournament in that respect. And they will certainly be hunting. And also, well, they're underdogs. They can't win this. Did you check the last two games? They were underdogs in both of those games and played well and rose to the occasion and held off the favorite teams. We're not saying they're supposed to beat Team USA because, as Ben pointed out, it's a 16-point favorite. We also saw Serbia as a decided underdog take Team USA to the wire. We always talk about the NBA playoffs and how they're set up where the cream rises to the occasion. Why? Because there's 7-game sets here, which means it's hard to beat the better team 4 times if you're not the truly better team. In a 1-game environment, all it takes for one guy to go crazy, one guy to go nuts, Steph Curry to go 1 for 9 from 3-point range as opposed to 9 for 14, and you can hang around in this game. We're not expecting Team USA to lose this game, but certainly it's not a foregone conclusion. Even if you go back to those international friendly games in the showcases, you still saw some of those other teams that weren't supposed to be on the same planet as Team USA give them some issues down the stretch. So it's not a foregone conclusion, but it does look good for Team USA. But a great stage tomorrow as we take a look at 3:30 in the afternoon. That house is going to be rocking.
Rocking for sure. France, a 16-point underdog. Serbia was a 16-point underdog in the semifinal against the United States. The Americans had played the Serbians 3 times, once in the exhibition tune-up, hammered them. The Olympic opener winning by 26, hammering Serbia, covering as a 13.5-point favorite. Everybody on the United States talked about yesterday having to play a really talented Serbian side 3 times in a 3-week span. This will be the first matchup for the U.S. against France. To the track we go. Noah Lyles looking for the rarefied double in Olympic history. The champion of the 100-meter comes up just a tad short in the 200-meter men's final, finishing with a bronze medal. He tested positive for COVID on Tuesday, wasn't fully healthy. Now let's talk dominance. Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone sets a new world record, the 6th time she has set a world record in the 400-meter women's hurdles, 50 seconds, .37. A new world record and a gold medal for Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone.
Yeah, it's exciting when you're not supposed to win a medal, or if you do get on the medal, like, boy, didn't see that coming. It's another added pressure when you know you are the best by far in the world and you still have to perform when those bright lights are on. And it wasn't as if it's like, wow, what a close call. She was absolutely dominant all the way through, including yesterday. It's one thing to win at the Olympics. It's another thing on the biggest stage to have such a good performance that you break the world record once again. That's what I love the most of it. You could have cruised, you could have just ran, but knowing going into that gate, I'm going to set a world record on this run and do it on the biggest stage, that was really fun to watch. A true dominant athlete in her sport, by far one of the most dominant runs that we saw in the Olympics so far this year.
A -600 favorite was Sydney McLaughlin to win gold in the 400-meter hurdles. A hefty favorite was Grant Holloway in the 110-meter men's hurdle final, and he redeems a silver medal in Tokyo, a disappointing finish with a gold medal in Paris. How about a 5-set thriller in the semifinal for Team USA against the volleyball tournament on the women's side? Top seed, that's Brazil. The Americans prevail. They will play for a gold medal on Sunday morning. And here is the medal count entering this Friday. Only a couple of days left at the Olympic Games. Sunday, the final day of action. The Americans, 103 total medals. Again, pre-Olympic Games, that over-under, 119 and a hook. The Americans well on track for that. It's a Football Friday. Some NFL preseason recaps, the names and the numbers you need to know. Up next.
try and set the stage for what should be a great year of NFL action.
There's a handful of teams that potentially can compete for a Super Bowl championship.
Confusion and uncertainty this year more than some in the past.
This team looks like it's ready to make a move, but we just don't know if it's bad or good this year.
J.J. McCarthy is eventually going to take over, but it's like it's a no-lose situation for them.
I mean, they suck. They were 7-10.
Only on SportsGrid.
Hopefully they learned their lesson. Hey, this ain't the NBA, bro. You don't have 6 fouls, and they will check you on this stuff. And Brooks has a reputation coming into this. You can tell the refs are watching them, and they were on him all the time.
This was 10, 12 years ago. Canada playing Greece with that type of lead that they had. They probably would have mentally crumbled and lost that game to Greece by 3 or 4 points in the final minute of that ball game.
Sports Rage Late Night. Only on SportsGrid.
Say the under has the correct juice to the 6.5 win total for the New York Giants. It's a losing season. It's a bad season in the greater New York area. Is Brian Daboll and is Joe Shane back next year?
As a Giants fan, what are you looking forward to? Absolutely nothing. You're hoping like the Yankees make a long enough run so you can forget about the Giants.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
The bottom of this field is a bunch of guys, quite frankly, that aren't on the tour, aren't on the DP tour, aren't on the Corn Ferry tour.
You know, the top 25 or so in this field, I mean, you've got Rory, you've got Lowry, you've got Scheffler, you know, all 4 Americans, Minwoo Lee and Jason Day. And you go to Mito Pereira and Joaquin Neiman out of Chile. So, you know, it really is pretty deep.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
Week number 1 of the National Football League preseason in full is now fully underway. A doubleheader of action on a Thursday to get us kicked off in New England. It was the Patriots and the Panthers. At MetLife, it was the Giants and the Lions. We start up in Foxborough. Forever NE last night. You know, as soon as the preseason final came through for the opening game of this preseason for the Pats, everybody went to Twitter with a hashtag Forever NE to make sure Donnie Right-Side's feed was flooded. 17-3, the victory for New England over Carolina. The Pats were a 6.5-point favorite. It is going to be the only time this year New England lays close to a touchdown in a pre or regular season game. Total of 35.5 stays under. 4 quarterbacks in action for New England, including the starter right now, Jacoby Brissett, the 3rd overall draft pick in Drake May. We'll show you his stats, and Joe Milton, who was also a draft pick in 2024 out of Tennessee. Only 2 quarterbacks for Carolina. That was the young Jack Plummer out of Louisville and Jake Luton. It was the reason, DRS, the Patriots were nearly a touchdown favorite. Probably the reason New England won by 2 scores, 17-3.
Yeah, reading the line, which we're going to preview some of the games up tonight on that triple header, which you should be reading the lines because they are ripping and running. And they did yesterday saying, hey, what is that? 6.5, you can't do it. But as Ben explained yesterday, you're basically saying, hey, Jack Plummer, you never played NFL football before. We don't have a game plan for you, so just go out and make some things happen. Yeah, you got sacked 5 times, threw 21 times for only 86 yards. And then you did have some NFL talent playing on the opposite side, which Bailey Zappi. Say what you want. He does have some NFL starts under his belt. 12 of 20, 108 yards, able to move the football. We wanted to see Joe Milton. We know he's talented. He threw a touchdown pass. But I think it was pretty easy to see. Once you saw that huge line move, you could have said, okay, let me just play contrarian and take the points. But there's always a reason for these line moves. They don't just happen because my favorite team is the New England Patriots. I'm going to bet them, and more Patriots fans were betting than Carolina. We understood the task at hand. If you're going to put a quarterback out there that isn't used to playing in the NFL just yet or doesn't have very many snaps, you're probably going to get beat in the preseason. That's what happened with the Panthers.
Bryce Young did not play. The backup in Carolina, the veteran Andy Dalton, has been banged up early in training camp, not even really practicing at this moment. It's why it was Jack Plummer and Jake Luton last night for Carolina. The Panthers now winless in 4 preseason games dating back to the start of 2023. Gerard Mayo gets a victory in his first game as the new head coach for the Patriots, and a cover to boot as well. Both totals last night on the rise. 35.5 stays well under between the Patriots and the Panthers. Drake May, only one drive, the second offensive possession of the game for the Patriots. 2 of 3, 19 yards. Not much last night. He did follow Jacoby Brissett, who is the starter right now in New England, who started off preseason game number 1.
Yeah, and I guess it's just the fact of, you have a new regime in town. So you had 2 teams, right? Both had new head coaches. One took the provided, you know what? Let's play this more of a game day situation. Let's get a look at everybody. And I always say this on a preseason schedule as well. It's not so much you say, well, what did you get out of going 0 for 3 for Jacoby Brissett? You didn't get anything out of that, but you had him go through the game day process of being the starting quarterback, knowing what he had to do, stretching and just getting in that mentality, which I don't mind at all. And if your starter's going to be out there, then go ahead and play him and give him a little bit of a game plan and say, let's get you in, let's get you out. We'll get some film on you, but at least you'll have that underway. And maybe game number 2, we'll play a little bit more. The Panthers decided not to go that route. And again, there's no way that you say, absolutely, that's the way to do it. Absolutely, that's the way not to do it here. So I don't have an issue, but I think we did get lulled a little bit to sleep by, hey, look at this, man. We might be getting some more scoring here in the preseason from game number 1 at that Hall of Fame game where the Texans and the Bears basically through only a half really were lighting up the scoreboard. You didn't get much scoreboard lighting up yesterday. 0-0 at the end of the first quarter. You knew what you were in for after that.
Listen, the final score of these preseason games does not have a bearing on regular season action for either of these organizations, but the results and the operation of game day in the National Football League can pay dividends. The Patriots had a successful game, and I will just say this, the 6th-round draft pick out of Tennessee via Michigan, Joe Milton III. If you haven't watched a ton of college football, you might see Joe Milton, as you did last night, look like an NFL quarterback. 4 for 6, 54 yards, and a touchdown, a passer rating of 134.7. Also a crazy scramble where he went right, broke out of the pocket, spun all the way back around, ran pretty much the entire length of the field just to get 13 yards and a first down. He is a great athlete. He has a rocket arm. But don't totally buy in just yet to thinking Joe Milton is the second coming of insert your favorite quarterback here. Now we go to MetLife, East Rutherford, New Jersey. The Giants playing host to the Lions, where we had seen a ton of joint practice fights this week between Detroit and New York. Would that bad blood carry over to the preseason debut for both? Not so much. The G-Men victorious 14-3 over Detroit. New York covers as a 4.5-point favorite. Another total of 35 and a hook stays well under.
Yeah, and you're also taking a look at the favorite team being the New York Giants, but also Tommy DeVito's got game reps under his belt last year. Yeah. Same thing with Drew Lock. You put those 2 quarterbacks out there going up against Nate Sudfeld, who's with the Philadelphia Eagles and won a Super Bowl ring, but really didn't have anything to do with that Super Bowl ring. And then Hendon Hooker, who sometimes you do like that type of quarterback in the preseason, a guy that's able to get outside the pocket and make his own plays. He went 5 of 9, but you didn't get too much out of it yesterday. But also, if you're thinking of the Detroit Lions saying, all right, Ben Johnson's still there, is going to cook up some schemes, and that really didn't work yesterday based on what you were thinking from the Texans in their game and their offensive coordinator and cooking up some things. It was a boring game overall. I don't know what you actually got out of it because Drew Lock, 4 of 10 for 17 yards with an interception that we were led to believe that he was really having a good preseason and could maybe factor in and challenge Daniel Jones. Stop the madness at this point right now. But Tommy DeVito, 8 of 15, he's going to make that roster again this year.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And DRS, although the performance was not great out of the Giants quarterback room last night, the more experienced QB room in terms of NFL game action and reps did get the victory. Something to pay attention to here throughout preseason. The better quarterback room in New England, the Patriots by a far margin last night as compared to Carolina. You probably give the edge to Drew Lock and Tommy DeVito in terms of game NFL reps than that of Hendon Hooker and Nate Sudfeld. I mean, no touchdowns were thrown by any of the 4 quarterbacks last night in New York, but just something to pay attention to. All 17 points combined in the game scored in the opening half, scoreless in the second half between the G-Men and the Lions. If you're looking at Hendon Hooker, third-round draft pick by the Lions now 2 years ago. 5 of 9 for 36 yards. Detroit's leading rusher last night, 34 yards using his legs on the ground as well. SportsGrid put out a great article, the 8 worst head coaches and their trends entering preseason 2024. Brian Daboll, one of the worst records against the number. New York 3-3 straight up in his 2 preseasons prior, entering this year, but 0-6 against the spread. So the first cover for Brian Daboll as the head coach of the G-Men.
Look, if you're Brian Daboll, you better go 3-0 in the preseason here, because good luck on winning 3 games. Now, granted, I know their team total is much, much higher than that, and we like to bang on the New York Giants, but there is something to be said about getting those vibes right, because if you were saying to yourself heading into the season, I got to set the tone here. Like, my general manager is under a little bit of fire. I'm under a little bit of fire. Let's make sure we pick up victories, even if they're in the preseason, before you head into the regular season. I don't mind to see it here. So just get out there. And also, Malik Neighbors yesterday, I don't think had too many targets yesterday or a catch. We were hoping to see something out of him. Maybe we get that in game number 2.
Malik Neighbors was not really going to play. They were keeping a lot of those starters out for the New York Giants, despite the fact that Neighbors was a rookie. And by the way, if you believe in the Fighting Dan Campbells, he's not been great in now his 4th preseason at the helm in the Motor City, just 3-7 straight up in preseason action. Did you catch any of the game, DRS? Did you hear who was on the broadcast last night for the Giants preseason opener?
No, the one that was on TV for me, I was watching on the NFL Network, was the Patriots game, so I didn't catch much live of the Giants game. Who was on it, though?
Well, I'm in the greater New York City area. Our guy, Phil Simms, Giants legend, guest of the early line, was in the broadcast booth yesterday for New York. Action all around Major League Baseball. Recap from a Thursday up next.
Try and set the stage for what should be a great year of NFL action.
There's a handful of teams that potentially can compete for a Super Bowl championship.
Confusion and uncertainty this year more than some in the past.
This team looks like it's ready to make a move, but we just don't know if it's bad or good this year.
J.J. McCarthy is eventually going to take over, but it's like it's a no-lose situation for them.
I mean, they suck. They were 7-5.
Only on SportsGrid.
Hopefully they learned their lesson. Hey, this ain't the NBA, bro. You don't have 6 fouls, and they will check you on this stuff. And Brooks has a reputation coming into this. You can tell the refs are watching them, and they were on him all the time.
This was 10, 12 years ago. Canada playing Greece with that type of lead that they had. They probably would have mentally crumbled and lost that game to Greece by 3 or 4 points in the final minute of that ball game.
Sports Rage Late Night. Only on SportsGrid.
Say the under has the correct juice to the 6.5 win total for the New York Giants. It's a losing season. It's a bad season in the greater New York area. Is Brian Daboll and is Joe Shane back next year?
As a Giants fan, what are you looking forward to? Absolutely nothing. You're hoping like the Yankees make a long enough run so you can forget about the Giants.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
The bottom of this field is a bunch of guys, quite frankly, that aren't on the tour, aren't on the DP tour, aren't on the Corn Ferry tour.
You know, the top 25 or so in this field, I mean, you've got Rourke, you've got Lowry, you've got Scheffler, you know, all 4 Americans, Minwoo Lee and Jason Day. And you go to Mito Pereira and Joaquin Neiman out of Chile. So, you know, it really is pretty deep.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
A 10-game slate around Major League Baseball on a Thursday to recap for you here on a Friday morning on the early line. It might have been the series finale in some spots, or the start of a weekend series, including an NLCS rematch from a year ago, now in the desert. But we start with the series finale in Atlanta. Milwaukee looking for the sweep over the Braves, and they did just that. What an offensive set for the Brew Crew. 10-0 in the opening game, 16 hits and 8 runs in game number 2. How about 16 runs, 6 homers, and 20 base knocks for Milwaukee in the 6-7 win over Atlanta yesterday? The Brewers were a plus 110 moneyline underdog against the Braves. They cashed that plus money price. They sweep Atlanta in this 3-game set.
I mean, I don't know what's going on with Atlanta, but as you talk about, like, the end of seasons, like when I watch my Philadelphia Flyers when they end the season at home, like all the guys come out, they raise their sticks to the crowd. Hey, thanks for support all year, but we were really bad and the season is over at this point. Did the Atlanta Braves come out after that game and wave to the crowd, be like, yeah, it's a wrap on the season? Because it really feels like they gave up against the Milwaukee Brewers. I mean, they got hammered every single game. And if you would have told me before this game, Donnie, the Braves are getting 7 runs, you're like, okay, at least they salvaged one. They gave up 16. They were getting blasted right off of the bat. I don't know what's going on with the Braves at this point, but nothing good is coming out of any game they're playing now. And even if you're saying, I'm going to chase down the Philadelphia Phillies, now you got to chase down the Mets because they passed you as well. What a tank right now for the Atlanta Braves. Still time to turn it around. Still in the wild card race. We get it. But my goodness, the effort on those past 3 nights against the Brewers came in and just cleaned house down there in the Big A.
Jackson Chourio, the youngster for Milwaukee, 2 home runs, 4 RBIs. William Contreras, a home run and 3 ribbies as well. Now 5 consecutive losses for Atlanta, and to Donnie's point, the New York Mets take the rubber match against the Rockies yesterday at Mile High, 9-1. Pete Alonso, a multiple home run game. The New York Mets now have a half-game lead over the Atlanta Braves for the 3rd and final National League wildcard spot. For most of this year, the Braves, despite trailing Philadelphia in the National League East, held on to the top spot and by a pretty wide margin in the National League wild card hunt. But with how good San Diego has been, how good Arizona, the reigning NL pennant winners, have been since the All-Star break, the Braves are on the outside of the playoff picture in the National League, looking in right now. An 8-1 price on Atlanta to win the National League pennant, the longest we have seen this year, but still the 3rd best number. Not good times, though, for the Braves. Now we go to that National League Championship Series rematch from a year ago in Arizona. 4-game set this weekend, starting yesterday in downtown Phoenix between the Phils and the D-backs. And the Phillies, who won the set against the Dodgers, winning the final 2 games of the series, continue that win streak in Arizona. 6-4 the victory for the Phils yesterday. Make that 3 straight victories for the Phils, taking the opener in Phoenix over the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, this is what you have to love, because now you get your aces back on the mound for the Philadelphia Phillies, and you're still wondering, can we just get a victory or at least keep us in the ballgame? Allard was on the mound yesterday, 5 innings pitched, 1 earned run on the road against the Diamondbacks. You'll take that every single time. Yeah. We also talked about 2 questionable pitchers on the mound, speaking with Montgomery as well. Well, Allard certainly held up his end of the bargain, but this game still went over the total. There's a lot of power bats on both of these teams, but it's good to see the Philadelphia Phillies rising to the occasion, because so many times you just need that clutch hit. Bases loaded early in the game, 2 outs, Trey Turner's up. What does he do? Doesn't ground out, gets a base hit through the left side. 2 runs come in. You see that 4-run 6th inning, which really propelled the Philadelphia Phillies all the way through. Big-time players. Bryce Harper, another 3 hits in that game. That's what you love to see. JT Realmuto, since he's come back, finally hits a home run, showing some of that power. Great victory for the Phillies. And now, as I said, you're through those spot starters here. Now you're getting back to the aces, and maybe the Phillies can really start to do some damage and go on a streak of their own.
JT Realmuto, a home run in the 7th inning to add some insurance for Philadelphia. His first homer DRS since late May. A big spot for the Phils. The Phils have won 3 straight. They've been an underdog in all 3. Arizona, a minus 118 slight home moneyline favorite yesterday in the desert. So because of 3 consecutive wins for the Phils, who had dropped 7 of their last 8 before this small 3-game win streak, Philadelphia, the best record once again in Major League Baseball, a win percentage of .6 0-0, the only team with a win percentage of 60% or better in Major League Baseball, 69-46, the overall record for the Phils. Of course, it was the Diamondbacks taking the National League pennant last year in a 7-game series, winning in Game 7. We've got a 4-game set, 3 more to go in downtown Phoenix this weekend. Arizona still 14-5 since the All-Star break, but their divisional mates out of the National League West, even better than that. The Padres now have won 5 straight games. They pull off the sweep in Pittsburgh during the midweek. 7-6, the victory. A very slight moneyline underdog inside PNC Park. Total of 8.5 does go over. The Padres down 6-5 in the 9th inning. Kyle Higashioka at the dish for San Diego puts the ball in play. A couple of errors leads to 2 runs, and San Diego picks up a 7-6 victory. DRS, the Padres have won 14 of their last 16 games, 14-3 since the All-Star break. San Diego is rolling right now.
And comfortably now in the lead there for the wild card position, and maybe now challenging the Los Angeles Dodgers if they can win that division. Fresh off the heels of the Arizona Diamondbacks, the Giants playing much better baseball as well, winning 7 out of their last 10 games. But you take away from this game is the Padres are really good. We get that. We've had a nice summer so far from the Pittsburgh Pirates, but is that fun streak starting to end? Just a few days ago, it feels like they were right in the thick of things for that final wild card spot within a game. They now sit 4.5 games back at that final wild card spot, which means you got to jump the Giants, the Cardinals, the Braves, and the Mets to get back into the mix to make the playoffs here. Let's see if they can rebound, because that was a tough series where they had multiple chances to win a couple of those games against the Pods, not able to get it done.
And San Francisco, by the way, playing better baseball. 9-5, the victory in the nation's capital against the Nats yesterday. They've won 7 of their last 10. They're above 500. The National League West applying some pressure on the Dodgers. L.A. only a 2.5-game lead over San Diego. The Padres in the top National League wildcard spot. But the Dodgers, who have won 10 of the last 11 NL West crowns, it's getting a little bit spicy atop the division. We go around the American League East up next.
Try and set the stage for what should be a great year of NFL action.
There's a handful of teams that potentially can compete for a Super Bowl championship.
Confusion and uncertainty this year more than some in the past.
This team looks like it's ready to make a move, but we just don't know if it's bad or good this year.
J.J. McCarthy is eventually going to take over, but it's like it's a no-lose situation for them.
I mean, they suck. They were 7-10.
Only on SportsGrid.
Hopefully they learned their lesson. Hey, this ain't the NBA, bro. You don't have 6 fouls, and they will check you on this stuff. And Brooks has a reputation coming into this. You can tell the refs are watching them, and they were on him all the time.
This was 10, 12 years ago. Canada playing Greece with that type of lead that they had. They probably would have mentally crumbled and lost that game to Greece by 3 or 4 points in the final minute of that ball game.
Sports Rage Late Night. Only on SportsGrid.
Say the under has the correct juice to the 6.5 win total for the New York Giants. It's a losing season. It's a bad season in the greater New York area. Is Brian Daboll and is Joe Shane back next year?
As a Giants fan, what are you looking forward to? Absolutely nothing. You're hoping like the Yankees make a long enough run so you can forget about the Giants.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
The bottom of this field is a bunch of guys, quite frankly, that aren't on the tour, aren't on the DP tour, aren't on the Corn Ferry tour.
You know, the top 25 or so in this field, I mean, you've got Rory, you've got Lowry, you've got Scheffler, you know, all 4 Americans, Minwoo Lee and Jason Day. And you go to Mito Pereira and Joaquin Neiman out of Chile. So, you know, it really is pretty deep.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
The battle for the top spot in the American League East. Does anybody want to be in first? The finale yesterday between the Blue Jays and the Orioles in the 6th. The rubber match of the set. Baltimore, an ever so slight road favorite in Toronto. Minus 110 on the money line for the O's. Minus 106 on the other side for the Blue Jays. And Toronto wins the rubber match and wins the series 7-6. A total of 9. Skies over. Because Toronto as a club has had such a disappointing season, we're probably not talking about Vladimir Guerrero Jr., as much as we should. A 20-game hit streak continues yesterday with a homer, a double, and a triple in 4 RBIs to lead Toronto to a series victory over Baltimore, 7-6, the final score in the finale.
Yeah, the bullpen almost gave it up yesterday for Toronto, giving up 4 runs in the top of the 9th inning. But I think our handicap yesterday was correct. You know, we have an unbelievably talented Baltimore Orioles lineup going against Gausman, who has struggled quite a bit from left-handed batters. Well, there weren't a lot of lefties in that lineup yesterday. So you saw a lot of lefties in the lineup where Gausman has been dominant against those, not so much against right-handed pitching. And you saw that play out. Look at Gausman. 8 innings pitched, 3 hits, only 2 earned runs here. An absolutely dominant performance, as we said. The 9th inning got a little bit hairy, but they still pulled out a victory. This was the Toronto team we're expecting all season long. 53-62, not going to get it done. But you see, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., with sort of a slower start, has really turned into that guy that we expected to be in the home run race, to be in the MVP race. He's been absolutely sensational, now hitting .321 on the season, but too little, too late for the Toronto Blue Jays, but they pick up the victory against the Orioles. And for the Orioles, still hanging with the Yanks, who they also got some help yesterday from an not so good source in the Los Angeles Angels, to be nice at that point. So the fight still is on the AL East, but a good win for Toronto. And yes, the focus is on Vladdy Jr. Sensational yesterday once again.
68-48. That's the record for Baltimore. It's the same exact mark for the New York Yankees that lost their final 2 games of this short midweek series against the Angels. 9-4 the victory yesterday for the Halos, who were at least a $2.40 underdog in all 3 games against the Yankees. They won 2 of those 3, some hefty plus money prices. DRS's guy, Nolan Schanuel, got the game started in a big way for Los Angeles. A home run to lead off the game in the top of the first. He had a couple of RBIs. Joe Adell, the youngster for LA, 3 RBIs yesterday. And the Angels get to Nestor Cortez early and often to win the series finale and take the midweek set over the Yankees, 9-4 the final.
What did we talk about yesterday? Team total. Thought it was too low for the Angels, 3.5. Nestor Cortez is a bad pitcher. 4 2/3 innings pitched, 9 hits, 6 earned runs against a completely inept offense. So just think about that. This is a series that you were supposed to bulk up and maybe spread your wings and your lead in the AL East. That didn't happen here. That's an embarrassing series overall from the New York Yankees, because Nestor Cortez or no Nestor Cortez, you're still supposed to win that game. You give up 9 to the Angels in that offense? That's disrespectful here. Bad loss for the Yanks.
The Pinstripes entered this series. They were rained out early this week on Tuesday. They played a doubleheader on Wednesday. And when New York entered that doubleheader, they had won 7 of 8 games. Again, matching Baltimore stride for stride atop the American League East. Luis, don't call him heel on the bump in the opener of the doubleheader on Wednesday, got a victory. The Yankees were booked as a $3 home money line favorite. But then the Angels won game 2 of that doubleheader and take the series finale yesterday. So again, 68-48. Same exact record for Baltimore and New York, tied atop the American League East. The O's have the advantage in the head-to-head matchup against the Yankees so far this year. These 2 teams will end the season against one another in their second-to-last set of the season. So right now, tied atop the American League East. The Yankees, though, are still the favorites at minus 150 to win the divisional crown.
Yeah, as we said, we've been talking about these 2 teams for weeks now. Still think they're the 2 best teams in the American League, and they will go toe-to-toe throughout the rest of the summer. But sometimes you feel like even the Yankees were coming on a hot streak. You can never, go up against the opposing opponent in baseball and take them lightly. Remember the Philadelphia Phillies before the All-Star break? Oakland A's are in town. Oakland A's beat them up pretty good. Now you figure you're going to get a couple easy victories against the Angels. You didn't get that done. As we like to say, that's baseball here. But those are bad losses that might catch up to you later in the season when you should have handled your business.
The Yankees will play host to the Texas Rangers this weekend up in the Bronx. The O's continue a road trip against divisional foes. They will head to the Trop to take on the Rays. Both teams, the Orioles and the Yankees, favorites today in their matchups on this Friday to start off the weekend. We get you set for the weekend with hour number 2 coming up next.